Hi everyone, this is Alamin. Welcome you all in this video of wealth creation. In previous video, I talked about simple concepts of wealth creation. This coming videos, including this one, is going to be a pursuit of those concepts. I just want to say these are subjective views. Be a skeptic when you are absorbing these ideas and use your own judgment to apply these principles in your own life. Let's talk about wealth, what it actually means, what are the types of wealth, and how we can create wealth. So, the definition, it's from Naval Ravikant, but I think it really makes sense is that wealth are the assets that's going to create more assets for you, even if you are not actively working. And then there comes money and status. Money is how we do transaction of wealth. And then there comes the status, which positions us in the social hierarchy. Typically, more status means you are higher in the social hierarchy, but it's a zero-sum game because there can be only one king in the country. There can be one best player in the world. Instead of playing a zero-sum game, play a positive-sum game where everybody wins. Now let's talk about what are the typical types of wealth. Again, it's a subjective viewpoint from my perspective, which is I regard health and time to be a fundamental nature of wealth. Like these are the wealth that we take it for granted. That mm, I think those are the invaluable wealth that has been provided to us that we often don't regard them as wealth. We kind of think that it's kind of like something we can dispense with. But typically, even if you are the richest man in the world, you can't ensure your health and you can't buy your time. And the other type of the every other type of assets, I would put them as other assets, and this may be lands, property, plant, equipment, commodities, or any kind of business that you own. So these are the other type of assets that you can categorize as wealth. And what are actually trying to do is we are trying to sacrifice health and time to buy or create more assets. It can be land, it can be properties, it can be starting a business. So obviously you need to spend time and you need to do a lot of work to get your hands on those other assets. But there has to be some fine balance that you have to strike. So before I speak about the formula, let's talk about the expectations. What are the expectations from this formula? We want this formula to at least give us the freedom that we deserve. So, freedom is priceless. We can all agree with that. What we are trying to do is like we are giving away our time just to earn our livelihood so that one day we don't have to work. And then there comes longevity. That means you want to stay rich as much time as possible. And then obviously there needs to be a minimum luck factor that we just don't want to be rich because we are lucky. We want to be rich and wealthy because uh, we have made it in a way that diminishes the luck factor. Obviously, there has to be a tremendous amount of luck in order to get there, but uh, we want the luck scenario or the luck variable to be as minimum as possible. So the formula itself is wealth is equal to how much you keep at the end of the day plus growth of your current wealth. So this formula consists of two different parts. One is how much you can keep at the end of the day, and the other is growth of your current wealth. So how much you can keep at the end of the day actually means your net savings. What are the income after all of the expenses you have? And then the growth of your current wealth, the second part of this wealth formula, consists of whatever the current wealth you have, multiplying that with the return on investment on those wealth. Now, if you look at the net savings part of that formula, it's all about how much you can keep at the end of the day. That means either you can try to increase your income, which everyone eventually tries to do, And also, time to time, you can try to constrain your expenses, which is not very scalable solution because there are very limited ways we can constrain our expenses because we absolutely need to survive and do what is best to be able to comfortable in our life. So the general idea that we try to explore is how we can increase our income. So what basically means that making your labor as valuable as you can. It means that trying to make yourself suitable enough so that you know something rare, some rare thing really, really well compared to the other individuals, and also you are willing to take risk to provide your labor, and also you know the necessary leverages to make your labor as successful as it can be. Then there comes the growth on your current wealth part. The fundamental idea is to do longevity, like to be able to do whatever you are doing for long enough on a consistent basis is the way to earn more wealth. That means that if you, even if you are earning a very significant amount of returns, but if it's not consistent, it's not going to be very much successful at the end. Whereas if you can just do 5% return on investment for 30 years, which is very simple, in some cases, that if you just do, like, buy land and just let there for 30 years, it's going to be significantly higher than you actually could have done by making bad investments. Regarding how you can increase your ROI, we can discuss more on a later video if you guys are interested. But the idea is to be consistent and play this game as long as possible as the time allows. Alright, let's talk about the constraints. I would put discipline and behavior to be the number one factor when it comes to wealth creation. There are two phases of wealth creation. One is making the assets, and the second part is preserving those assets. Some people are really good at making money, but not very good at preserving those assets. So you need to focus on both parts because both are equally important. The other constraint that I would like to highlight is knowing when to say good enough. It's absolutely critical that you create your boundaries, that and we are going to pursue this at this point because more money doesn't equal more happiness. It's so you are just going to achieve that to the point that makes you, at least makes your life meaningful, that you are not chasing for money day after day. The fundamental concept is you need to play positive sum game instead of zero sum game. You can create a budget which will help you to drive towards those good enough variables. Another important constraint that we often overlook is that investing is a game where time plays a really significant amount of role because compounding interest is the way an investor earns their returns, their significant returns. And in order to have compound interest have a play in your game, you need to start early. You need to allow the time it needs. Like, for example, if you plant a tree, it's not going to give you fruit the next day. It needs some time to grow and nurture itself. Then you're going to get more fruits, and more fruits are going to give you more seeds, and more seeds are going to give you more plants, and eventually you're going to have a forest. But um, it has to be um, in its own course, that it needs time. You can obviously tweak some variables to make it less susceptible to risk, but the idea is to give it time so that it the compounding interest plays on your favor, not against you. I would like to conclude my thoughts with one single advice: is learning. Be a lifelong learner, and obviously try to be really good skeptic about what you learn, because we are provided with countless informations that we can't really contain in our head with a really organized mindset. So we need to sort out all the wheat from the chaff, and in order to do that, we need to be a really good skeptic. You need to face all this new information that you are having with all the tools in your arsenal to withstand the pressure for creating new models, new thoughts, and new ideas. I hope you find this video useful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks everyone. See you soon in the next video.